before we get started with that, I quickly want to introduce myself as Jen T. I'm the CEO of Aringo MBA International. We've been around for about 20 years, helping clients and get admitted to top MBA programs and other B school programs, PhDs, everything, to get to where they want to be, to get to that next step in their career. So if you are looking for any help, we're here as an admissions consulting firm. We help with everything that you could think of as far as helping with the application, scholarship negotiation, waitlist assistance, and we've been doing that for quite a while. So if you need anything, let me know. All right, so we're going to jump right in, and I want to talk about how you should think about an essay before we get very specific. And so before you start your essay process, you want to look and have some sort of strategy before you start. LBS specifically only has a few questions, so it's not going to be too complicated, but you want to have an idea and a game plan before you just start sitting down and writing. You want to make sure that you're answering the questions. Think about different parts and perspectives of your profile to be able to make sure you're showcasing them in the best light, and that the committee is getting to get to know different parts of who you are. And then obviously you want to connect everything towards your goals and kind of why LBS specifically is the right place for you. And usually we have the motto of like staying modest, honest, and mature. And then the only other thing that I'll share in that section is we often see that sometimes candidates try to recycle what they've used from one school to the next. And you can always have the same essence from one school to the next, but you want to make sure you put a personal spin on each one of these application essays to different schools, because the admissions committee, they've been doing this for a long time, and they can tell when you're just cutting and pasting. So just have that in mind. And then when we start to look at LBS, let's think about the characteristics that make LBS unique. So one of the amazing parts is it's over 90% international students. And so when you're thinking of your answers and why you want to go to LBS or what kind of career goals you're looking for, you want to talk about that global diversity and international exposure of what you want, but also what you've had, right? So an MBA admissions committee is going to be looking for you to bring some of that to the table when you're in the classroom and ready to jump in and work with those teams that are across different cultures and that you're able to kind of navigate, especially because there's going to be moments where your professors are going to throw you into group projects, no leadership assigned, and you're going to have to start working together to get to the end with, obviously a time crunch, of course. It wouldn't be dramatic without that. And so that's where it's like being able to navigate those cultural differences is a real asset to somebody joining one of these MBA programs. And so I would look to, obviously accentuate that in your application itself. So you also want to talk about why LBS is specifically the right place for you. You want to talk about their experiential learning. There's the London CAP, there's London Lab, there's the Business Challenge, and there's the Entrepreneurship Lab as well. So you have these different parts of the curriculum that you can definitely use to your advantage, whichever most applies to you, and being able to talk about how this specifically is why you want to be at LBS. You can talk about their flexible curriculum and how they also have different ways for you to, they call it exit the program at 15, 18, and 21 months. So you could potentially have 2 internships. And then also the fact that, most people, when they think about LBS, they think about finance, but that's not all that you can do at LBS. You can go into consulting, you can go into tech, you can go entrepreneurship. There's a lot of different pathways for you to excel and find the right career at LBS. And then the last thing is again, think about these specific things that are innate to that program, like leadership launch, the entrepreneurship summer school. And then you can talk about the location of London being centrally located and easy to get to, or, well, easy is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but that it's centrally located so that you could travel to different international locations fairly easily. And that, if you are wanting that financial hub, this is definitely one of those moments. Okay, so next, let's jump into essay number 1. So the question asks, what are your post-MBA goals and how will your prior experience to LBS contribute toward these? You have 500 words, and the general advice here is this is a career essay, right? Career goals, so to say. So how will the MBA help you connect your past to your future? And you want to connect the dots for the admissions committee. And again, think about what's specifically special about LBS and how they specifically are the right place, because you want to convince them that they're your number one choice. And since this is a webinar about LBS, they absolutely are your number one choice, right? So here we have an example from one of our past clients who got into LBS, and they I am a proponent of making sure you just answer the question first, right? Like, my short-term goal is to become a product manager at a rapidly growing company in the clean energy sector, right? Like, so you're answering that question, giving it to them exactly as they are asking for it. Some people feel like it's clever to kind of bury it, or maybe not even mention it until the very end. But I am one of those people that says, like, they asked a question, let's give them the answer and then give them the supporting details along the way. You'll see those headlines of, how these incredible people got admitted to these different schools with these innovative essays that are so creative of, I never used, the C word, with cancer, or something like that. And she got into to HBS. But those are like undergrad essays. This is an MBA application essay, and they're wanting to be able to see how you answer the question, how it relates to them specifically, but then also, your ability to convey your ideas as well. So, all right. So the next part that I wanted to highlight is, like, how will your prior experience contribute to your LBS experience? And so you can see here that they offer the perfect combination of academic rigor, entrepreneurial focus, and international reach to help me achieve these goals. And so you can see where they are going to talk about different parts that are going to be really specific to them as to why LBS is tailored to them, or like the best decision. And then they highlighted here in purple, having worked across North America, UK, and Asia, I thrive in cross-cultural teams. So this is going back to one of those specific things that LBS is excited about, wants to hear about. And you're reinforcing this beyond just what's on your resume, or maybe what you have to fill in on the application form itself about what your international experience was, but you're reinforcing that here in this essay. So then you can also see that they've shown how they've done their research by speaking with somebody else. And I think that talking to another student and bringing it up in your essays, if it fits really well, like it does here, is that it helps reinforce that you've done your research. And also, mentally, the admissions committee is going to remember this gal, Anaya Sharma, and they're going to say, oh, Anaya did really well in our program. So will this applicant. So from there, you'll be able to see, like, they draw a parallel about success when you mention current students or alumni. Okay, so We do have a lot of different essay examples on our website, but this is a different one. So if you want to do a quick screenshot, you can absolutely do that, because I'm going to move to the next slide. So screenshot it if you feel like this is something you want to be able to refer to later on. And then we're going to continue on into this essay. And here the client was able to really talk about the central location of LBS being in London and how that's going to provide access to where their business needs to be, specifically in clean tech, and being able to access where the cutting edge technology is in the UK, right? So where these startups and maybe even some larger firms are located. So I also am highlighting some other ways that this client was able to kind of fold in these benefits of LBS, like the flexible curriculum, the classes that are going to be a good fit for them. Again, another reference to a current student. And then from there, a little bit about entrepreneurship and their future goal. So at the end, they just kind of summed everything up with, coupled with my experience in AI and energy, LBS is the perfect complement to achieving my post-MBA goals. So, they were able to build this giant picture for the admissions committee, walk through how everything connects between their past experience and the LBS program, curriculum, community, and show these connections, and really sum it up for the admissions committee as to why this is the right spot for them. Okay, so I think we have some questions. Alina, is it okay to maybe answer any that are pertinent to essay number 1?
Yep, sure. Let's go and see what we have here. Let's start with the first question. Hi, I am Priya, an investment management professional from Mumbai in India. I'm exploring a pivot into private equity with my question is how to do essays balance defining post-MBA goals, given that London Business School encourages flexibility and exploration.
Okay, so wanting to pivot into private equity with a strong interest in AI's role in business transformation. I'm not 100% sure about what you're asking about with the balance, so to say. Like, maybe I don't understand the question 100%, but what I will say is you do need to give them an understanding of where you come from, and then where you're going. So when we look at this essay, specifically this client, they were talking about they've been able to work in this clean energy sector for these 2 different startups, and they plan to collaborate with former colleagues, kind of in this major energy sector. So I would say that they haven't necessarily, dwelled on it too much, but you want to at least have that buildup. So another way of imagining this, like, let's say that you want to go into consulting, and say that I've always loved to solve a problem since I was a young kid, and so I've been able to do this in my college, I've been able to do this in my early career, and now I want to be able to do this on a more global platform, combining XYZ with the MBA program, and LBS is pivotal to making this happen. So, you want to be able to connect the dots for them. I saw that somebody else kind of asked about, like, how much do you share about your past, or how much do you build it up? And I think that, like, the balance is give them enough so that they understand where you're coming from, and then focus on the building out. And if we had to assign, like, a percentage of the answer, maybe 25% on past, and a bit more I would say 50% for sure on why LBS is the right fit, with the 25%, which is your goal, like explaining what you want to do. So hopefully that answers the question of balance. Happy to answer more specifically if something else kind of comes up.
Yeah, thanks. I have a specific question for essay one. In essay one, should we talk about the why around your post MBA goals, and how much time should we spend discussing this part?
Yeah, so I think that's part of the connecting the dots, right? Like why you want to go in this direction, and hopefully that's connected to your past. And so again, like I would still kind of say about that 25% as to, giving them the context clues of what you're looking to do. And then, the rest is focused on the future. And you can tie it back at the end, right? Like in your closing sentence, paragraph, however we want to phrase it. But in closing, you can kind of tie it back to the, leveraging my experience across, like even like what's said here, like having worked across North America, UK, and Europe and Asia, I thrive in diverse cultural teams. So you could have a sentence like that that just reiterates what you're wanting or the why behind your goals.
Thanks. One more question about this essay. Your slide on essay one had certain sentences in bold. Is that how the candidate submitted the essay to highlight certain statements, or something that was edited for this presentation?
No, that's me. I just highlighted them in this process. I would not recommend doing this at all during your essays. It actually is a bit distracting for an admissions committee to try to go through it, because you're highlighting what you think that they want to hear about, but sometimes it's not, so they lose focus. And so I would not highlight specific things or make them bold in my essays, and also not within the bullet points on my resume.
Thank you. Jen, do you want to proceed with questions? I don't see the question specific to this essay, so we can leave them for the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So essay number 2, what makes you unique? Wow. This is like a curveball, right? Like you probably never saw this question coming as far as, an MBA application. And so this is your opportunity to share more about who you are. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you want to be able to highlight who you are in different parts of this application. Obviously, the resume is your professional qualifications, achievements, accomplishments. The goals essay, we're highlighting your past and your future. And then in this essay, what makes you unique? This is your opportunity to show something, maybe soft skills, talk about your personality, your hobbies, passion, any sort of unique background. One time I had a candidate who had lived in like 5 different countries. And so they were talking about piecing these different cultures together, and talking about how this has really made them have a unique perspective. So it's a really fun question. It's only 200 words, so you don't have to get like too crazy with it, but it's a lot of fun to think about, oh, what does make me unique and how do I share that? Here you'll see that the client wanted to talk about their ability to navigate challenges and solve problems in unconventional ways. Again, I've highlighted or made these bold just to help with this presentation for the presentation purposes. So you can see here that, she was sharing her curiosity, and, new ideas and perspectives. And then there's a little bit of background of, coming from a family with a strong public service legacy. These experiences taught me the true value of resilience, reinforced my determination to build something meaningful through entrepreneurship. So these descriptors are helping tie into what's important to LBS and what the admissions committee kind of needs to hear about her and what she's wanting to do. So then again, we're going back to this unconventional background, being able to transition from economics and finance to cutting edge research and AI, and how this was kind of driven for her and how this kind of accentuates this like interest or desire to tackle these problems. And so I think that it's a really interesting way to show who she is, tie it into what LBS is excited about, this curiosity, multicultural background, and into the future, especially AI. I wouldn't say that like you need to incorporate AI into your application at all, but I think for this person, it really does work for them because it makes sense with the rest of their application as to why AI is next, and how that kind of ties into the newer parts of the LBS curriculum with building AI into it. So she had done a bit more research about, how it's being integrated within the curriculum. So hopefully this is helpful. It's funny is this is a creative essay. This is your opportunity to, again, like really show them your ability to think on your feet and be able to present something different. And so there's no right or wrong, right? Unless it's negative, I guess that would be the quote unquote wrong. But this is, just an interesting dynamic essay that hopefully rings true with who you are, and that will come out later on during your interviews. Okay, so that was essay 2. Does anybody have questions about essay 2?
Let me double check.
Thanks, Elena.
No, I don't see the specific question, but
Okay.
there are a lot of general questions. Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
sorry, I have one. In essay 2, is it right, wrong to mention personal experiences that shaped you?
Oh, no, it's perfect. That's the perfect content for essay number 2, because your personal experience, your personal journey is absolutely what makes you unique. Like I wouldn't want somebody to write an entire essay about how they're a chartered accountant and they have the, fantastic skills in this specific area, because how many chartered accountants are there? That isn't very unique. But if maybe you're a chartered accountant that has grown up with generation after generation after generation of chartered accountants, and this is your family's legacy, and you want to continue on to build onto that, and somehow relate it to family business and entrepreneurship, then we have a really interesting, exciting dynamic because of your background and what shaped who you are.
Thank you. One more. Can you share any specific timeline of the career or life that would be good in essay 2? Can it be recent or somewhere in the past? And how far back can it be?
So I would say you want your essay to be relevant to who you are and how it's connected to the MBA in one way or another. So if that was from birth, like being born in XYZ country and learning this thing led to where I am today, fantastic. It could be your entire life. Or it could be something that happened just this week, like, or well, maybe not just this week, but I would say it can be something that's happened recently, like your because of something that a client wanted or did, you had to dive into this new area and you found you really excelled in it. And you had some sort of unique ability to help with this area. And that's why you want to go into the MBA, because of this unique talent or ability for this newfound passion or excitement, right? So I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer as to when you're referencing this uniqueness. And yeah, it could be in the past or if maybe not in the future. It depends. Probably a way.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's it for essay 2. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the third and optional essay. So yeah, that's right. 2 essays for LBS. It's so crazy. Is there any other information that you believe the admissions committee should know about you and your application to LBS? 500 words. So this area is not mandatory. So do not feel compelled that you have to answer something. I think that it's with beyond your goals and this, quote unquote, unique experience that you've had or who you are, is there something else that you really think that the admissions committee should know about you? And this is an opportunity to help the committee with answering any questions that they might have about you that we don't want them to make assumptions about. So let's say that you have a career gap or a break. Usually adcoms will ask you to address any career break over 3 months. I would say maybe, especially if it's something that led to something exciting, then maybe you can, even if it was a month or 2 months, is like, I just wanted to note that I had this transition from this time to this time because I was exploring options in entrepreneurship and decided that this wasn't the right route for me. And I decided that I'd rather be helping people who are entrepreneurs and working in the startup industry or the startup side of things instead, or something like that, right? Like you can talk about that gap or break. It doesn't have to be 3 months or more. It could be less. Any career transitions that you've had that maybe seem unnatural, or you're like, wait, how did you shift from this to this, but you didn't have the opportunity to share it yet? If you have a bit lower of a GPA or your exam score is out of their normal range, like if their average GMAT, and right now, like I would say we're still using old GMAT scores, but like if it's, their average is close to like a 710-ish. And so if it was like a 680, maybe you want to address it and say like, oh, because of X, Y, and Z, I kind of have, exigent circumstances as to why I'm applying. I was only able to take the exam once without a ton of prep, but, I really want to be here, etc., or something like that. Or if you have a lower GPA, this is your opportunity to talk about it as well. And maybe if there was something that happened during your undergrad, and it can be as simple as, I was pushed to go this way, but it wasn't really my favorite. And it took a minute to figure that out. And I changed directions and you can see my grades improved, or you had a health concern or something like that. I would say ask somebody, ask a professional like an admissions consultant if you really have a question about like should you or shouldn't you include something in your application. But this is your opportunity to share it. It is not required. And so if you're going to add it to this application, think of what the committee is going to say. So what? Like I don't know. Like I broke my leg when I was 4. So what? What does that have to do with the MBA, right? Like there's no relevance unless the doctor that reset it changed my life and my perception, and I knew that healthcare was the place I wanted to be, and I did this, and this is my track. But I can make anything work, I feel like. But you have this opportunity if you feel like something's needed. But this is also an exercise in constraint. Do you have to share this? And so that's where essay 3 kind of comes in. And you can share multiple things, right? So it's I always tell people that you don't have to tell this huge story about why the GPA is lower or something like that. You can say, because of X, Y, and Z, my GPA was lower. This is what I did. This is how it got better. This is how I've improved and what I learned. Couple of sentences. And then you can say, you'll also notice that during COVID, I wasn't able to immediately get a job because of the job market during COVID. During this time, I got additional certificates or something like that, right? Like, you have the ability to address multiple things, and this doesn't have to be like an essay that all comes together, like where you have to like lead in from one thing to the next. So hopefully that's helpful. I don't have a huge selection of these optionals because they're really personal usually. So this one was this moment where somebody shared a little bit about their passion for photography. I don't know if I necessarily would use this. I don't think that this is the most fantastic use of this optional essay. But photography maybe is not necessarily like a huge part of like the MBA process themselves. But maybe they really felt compelled to share it. Okay, so any questions about essay number 3? Beyond that, I have some general tips that we can talk about as well.
Yes, sure. Let me double check. Mhm. Yep. For this essay 3, I don't have a good score in my 12th standard because of bullying at school. Can I show how in my college I was able to score better and turn things around a bit? Or is this too unprofessional?
Well, I don't think that you really need to go back to 12th standard, to be honest. The admissions committee is not going to have transcripts from 12th standard. So if it's some kind of story that leads into why you had to choose maybe a lower college or started college late, or maybe decided to go to junior college before you went to, a full college, maybe. But for the most part, admissions committees aren't going to want to hear about 12th standard. They want to hear a little bit about college. They want to know about your academic qualifications and involvement. But beyond that, they really want to hear about your professional life. So I don't think there's a good reason to go back, to 12th standard for this essay.
Thank you. One more. Can I use essay 3 to talk about lower than average GMAT score? My academics otherwise has been strong.
Yes, you absolutely can. So you can talk about like maybe that testing isn't necessarily the best place to show your aptitude for the program, and you want to refer back to looking at the quantitative or analytical courses that you took during college, and you did well. If you didn't, then let's have our own little chat later on. But yes, you can talk about your GMAT again. Like I said, like if it's kind of like 680 or below, this is probably a good place to talk about it. But if it's like really close to the average, you wouldn't have to talk about it.
Thanks. The next one, is it worth mentioning why I've chosen the references who worked with me 3 years ago? Rationale is because in consulting, I rarely work with the same leader. I chose the only people who have seen me grow and who I have a deep relationship with.
So yes, so this is an opportunity where you could explain that. And I'll be honest, I can't exactly remember if there's a part on the LBS application itself that asks you this, but generically, if you use a recommender that isn't your current boss, either there's going to be some sort of short form at the referral section of the application, or you can reference it here in the additional optional essay of, you'll notice that so-and-so is not my current boss and I didn't use them because of X, Y, and Z. You could talk about relationship, length of, working together, compared to what your current supervisor is, or if it would be asking your current supervisor could put your job in jeopardy, you can also share that in that optional essay as well. I have had clients before ask for letters of recommendation and lose their job. So if you think that it's something that could happen, it's totally okay to explain why you're not using your current supervisor, because things are a little bit crazy almost everywhere. And so if you feel like your job is at jeopardy for asking for a reference, then share that reason in the optional essay.
Thank you. And one more about essay number 3, applying as a partner. Should we add it in the optional essay?
I think it's great. Applying as a couple is fantastic. And you can just say that, like, you'll notice that my partner and I are both applying because we feel like LBS is the right spot for, and I just went through this yesterday with a client of, like, we think that LBS is the right place for both of us individually and as a couple to explore career, blah, 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 blah. Right. So short and simple, nothing too crazy about extenuating circumstances or anything.
Yep, thanks. I think we can go to general tips.
Okay, awesome. So as you see here, we want to make sure that we're answering the question that the adcom is asking for. Please make sure that you are adhering to the word limit. I think that, again, this is an exercise in constraint in some ways. And if you can't follow the directions, you're giving them information about yourself. You want to make sure you do promote your candidacy. This is a grueling process of applying to MBA programs. You're going to sometimes not feel adequate, or compared to other people who are applying, you might have a little bit of self-doubt or imposter syndrome. But think about the unique parts about you and your profile and how they make you a standout candidate. And if you need a cheerleader, you let me know. You want to include and emphasize any of the research that you've done in ways that make sense, right? You want to blend it in, fold it in into the essays themselves so that the committee understands why you feel like this school is the right place for you, despite never visiting or being thousands of miles away. You want to talk about who you are as a person in your career trajectory. Obviously, that's essay number 1. And you want to be specific. And I always tell the clients that, you never want the admissions committee to assume anything, because their assumptions can be way off. And so if there's something that you feel like you need to spell it out for them, then either try to do that in the essay itself, or one of the essays that it works for, or you can use the optional essay. And so we do have additional samples or examples of these essays on our website, so you can more than happy for you guys to go and explore them there. And then now we are open for Q&A.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation. We have 5 more minutes, so let's go with the questions. In your opinion, is London Business School a good choice to pursue a career in marketing, media, tech?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you want to be in the UK European market. I would say that it's kind of one of the hubs for that area. And that it has the ability to extend to a wide network beyond London, specifically to the other regions. So if you were schooled or learned in London, I think that it will carry well and do well, especially media. Like, I think that is a strong area location in London. So I would, if it was up to me.
Thank you. Would you suggest highlighting and bolding certain aspects of the essay you want to stand out?
Would you bold them? No. I would leave it all plain text.
Thank you. What is a typical encourage profile for a London Business School applicant? Is it tech, finance, or something else? Trying to gauge my chances and bring my story in.
Yeah. So I would say that you could almost explore anything at LBS, but they are well known for finance. They are known for tech. They have pathways for entrepreneurship. Marketing is there. I think that you could also do consumer goods and products, including retail and fashion as well. So there's a lot of options within there. If you are struggling to see if it's the right fit, look at the employment report. Just Google LBS employment report and see where people are getting employed and what jobs they're getting. And then if you feel like you don't have enough, talk to some current students as well.
Thank you. The next one, if the school encourages exploration flexibility, is it okay if I do not present a single distinct career plan as specific as a role or company, but instead describe the impact and broad industry I wish to be in, or is it non-advisable?
I would say that in your application, you are trying to convince them that you're the right fit for the program. And by having a potential path and showing that I can potentially be employed in a role like X, Y, and Z at a company like X, Y, and Z gives them the ability to visualize you being successful at the school. If you give them a vague idea, then it's not helpful for them to be able to say, yeah, I feel really good and confident that we can help them with employment after they graduate. So giving them some assurance of your career direction, and you can also present flexibility in, my backup plan is, or I'm also interested in exploring, the intersection of, AI and, I don't know, sustainability or whatever it might be, right? Like you can talk about this curiosity, but you don't necessarily have to rely on it for the entire essay in your career goals.
Thank you. The next one, how do we make sure that why LBS section, courses, clubs, etc., aren't too generic? For example, for the finance clubs and courses.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I always encourage candidates to look at the clubs. There's, I think I saw like 160 now student clubs. So you could list the Finex Club or the Tech Club or the Consulting Club, but find another one to add into that mix of saying, like, I look forward to joining this club, and this club. And if one of them is generic, fantastic. That's totally fine. But find one that's a really good fit for you specifically. And it doesn't have to be career, right? Like you could, be really excited about the basketball club because that's how you relieve stress and you look forward to bonding with people during stressful times during the MBA program and building those bonds.
Thank you. Jen, unfortunately, we are almost out of our time, so let's have one more question and then we'll end the webinar. So the question is, they ask some questions in the application as well. For example, first generation to attend university. Should I mention it here or not, since they ask it in the application?
I would say unless you have a specific story that goes with this of like coming from parents that had a really physically demanding job or, whatever it might be, like if it's part of your story and how you got where you are, absolutely use it. If it's just a fact about you, then fill it out in the application and you don't need to go back there.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, everyone. Unfortunately, we have to end our session, and thanks for joining the London Business School session. And we hope it helps you feel more confident as you prepare your essay. Best of luck to everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at our future events. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Alina.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.